live twice before, so if you've had weird kind of notifications, hopefully you can see me now. Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's been a moment, it's been a whole week. It is November already. It is November the 2nd, 2020, and I am literally just returning after a week's break. I haven't gone anywhere, I haven't done anything, I haven't really been looking at royal news. So today was quite, I suppose, quite a good and pertinent day to make my return because we have news. Obviously yesterday there were rumours circulating, mostly coming from the Sun newspaper, that Prince William, the Duke of Cambridge, had indeed had COVID-19 back in April, but there wasn't any, the palace hadn't actually confirmed this yesterday, but they now have, so we'll talk all about that. I also today want to talk very much about the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh being reunited back at Windsor, and also a little bit of sad news as well for the Queen. So I can see people dropping in already. Hello to Christine, Lizzie, Prime Minister Andrew Carter, hello, Ellen G, and another lost angel. So yeah, so I mean, literally, this was quite, this was developing, this has been a developing story. I did my shopping. I know you don't care about my shopping, but I did my shopping today. And after my shopping on a Monday, I always go and see my nan. And my nan said to me, well, what do you think about Prince William having COVID? And at that stage, really early this morning, we hadn't had any palace confirmation. So I said to my nan, whoa, just wait a minute. The palace was asked, they declined to comment. Therefore, it could just be paper talk. It could just be rumours. That nothing had actually been confirmed. But throughout the day, the palace did actually confirm to proper royal reporters that indeed the reports, the leaks that came out to the Sun tabloid newspaper were indeed true and correct. Now, I haven't actually seen or read the statement. As far as I'm aware, there hasn't been an official physical statement kind of produced and put out on the websites, but there has been royal reporter correspondence between the palace which has confirmed that this news is true and accurate. So yes, Prince William did indeed have coronavirus back in April, roughly about the same time as the Prime Minister was really suffering and had to be in hospital and was out of action, and also roughly about the same time when Prince Charles was also was undergoing treatment and isolation for COVID-19. It's raised a lot of questions from the press and the public. Why was it kept secret? Was it, there were lots of different things going on. So in a moment, I want to kind of talk about that. So I'll try and read out as many comments as possible. This is a live chat. So I want to know your thoughts. What do you think about Prince William, the Duke of Cambridge, not making this public? Now, in terms of the health of the royal family, we do end up knowing quite a lot about the health of the royal family. Sometimes when they go into hospitals, we get to know about it. With Catherine, when she comes down with the really bad morning sickness, we know it's always released that she has been admitted to hospital. With the Duke of Edinburgh, when he's gone to hospital, we've known, although we haven't known the details of what he's gone in necessarily for, we do know that he's gone into hospital. With the Queen, when she had her cataract surgery, we didn't know there and then that she'd gone into hospital to have her cataracts done. We actually found out a couple of weeks after the event, but we still knew about it even after the event, and it wasn't that long after the event. So it begs the question, why leave it this long to kind of confirm anything? And in fact, this wasn't even actually put out by the palace itself. This wasn't the palace being proactive, wanting to talk about Prince William's coronavirus. This was put out by the Sun, who apparently had got a source that William had mentioned that he had had coronavirus and he had difficulty breathing by someone who he had mentioned it to. So was it William's way of getting it out there? Did he just literally kind of forget that he was in a conversation that could potentially be retold to the press? I don't know. But also, we're not talking a case of the Queen's cataract surgery, or a little bit of kind of, surgery that isn't really going to, or hospitalisation that isn't going, or an injury or an illness that isn't really going to affect the nation. This was COVID-19. This was at a time when the Prime Minister was out of action, Prince Charles was out of action, and Prince William was also obviously out of action. There wasn't any engagements or anything done for a 7-day period in April, so we think that that was the period roughly when William was isolating with COVID. However, bookending that 7-day period, he was doing a series of engagements and video chats and all that kind of thing. So, when he was doing some of those video chats, he would have still, been at the tail end of having COVID-19, and no one knew about it. Nobody could guess, nobody would have known. I'm just going to kind of read some comments. Hello to everyone who has said hello. H. London says, I can see why William's COVID was kept quiet since he and Charles had it at the same time. It could have caused chaos. Well, you see, the health of the royal family is a kind of weird thing, I think, in the British eyes. We want to know the truth about the health of basically the representatives of our country. Let's not forget, the royal family, the Queen as monarch, is the physical embodiment of state. It is state, it is Britain, it is the United Kingdom in physical form. And the British people, as such, want to know the health of their state, of their nation. And the physical embodiment of that is the Queen and, of course, her family. Those who serve the Queen kind of fall into that category too. So, the British people do want to know the truth about the health and the, and how the royal family are doing. This was a serious condition. I can quite understand why maybe not saying immediately why, but it begs the question, why leave it that long? I can see that Prince William wouldn't necessarily have wanted to have worried the nation, have piled more pressure on, but I actually think, and quite a lot of people kind of think along the same kind of line, that we, in a global pandemic, we don't really need to have things sugar-coated. We kind of just want things as they are. If it is, if the truth is that we've got the Prime Minister down, Prince Charles down, and Prince William down, that would actually send quite a powerful message to the wider population of how serious this is. And let's not forget, in late February, early March, people in this country, including Prince William himself, were not taking COVID-19 as seriously as what we do now. I mean, I'm sure if Prince William could go back and change some of the comments that he made earlier, I think it was early March, I think, people were being very flippant about COVID back in those early days. And, Prince William's comments actually reflected very, very much, I think, the kind of wider population's thoughts about it. We didn't know too much about it. We didn't necessarily know the seriousness about the disease back then. We do now, and Prince William most certainly doesn't, because he's had it. And if it is true, what the Sun is saying, that he made comments about his breathing, that he found it really, really hard to breathe, he most certainly, I think, will most definitely be eating his words from what he said in March. But that was very, very much kind of the general feeling in the population in Britain back then. I think other countries were taking COVID a lot more seriously than what we were here in Britain. At that time, we hadn't had our first lockdown. It was coming close to it, but, the general feeling was that, maybe it was more kind of flu-like and all that business. We know now the truth of the situation. We are now currently in the UK in our second lockdown. Britain has gone into lockdown for another month. So we all know the seriousness of it now. But hindsight is a wonderful thing. And I think lots of people wish, that they could go back, but with hindsight, and correct things. William, unfortunately, doesn't have that luxury of going back and changing what he said. But at the time of having COVID, he did have the opportunity of letting the general public know that he was going through what a lot of people were also going through as well. So it would have served, I think, a powerful message to have let that be out there. But at the same time, I can also see how maybe he wouldn't want to have worried his own family more than necessary, the general public, piling more pressure, more doom, more gloom. But then again, the doom and the gloom, that is the reality of the situation, and I most certainly would rather have a good dollop of reality, even if it's not necessarily what we want to hear. But I don't know, just keep your thoughts and comments coming in. Lady Buckingham says, I wonder if they would have said anything if it was not reported on. And that's another good point. I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think maybe if Prince William did say what he said to somebody, then I think it perhaps was a bit of an oversight. I don't think he necessarily meant that to come out. Bearing in mind, this was not the palace being forthcoming and being on the forefront of this news. This was very much reactionary to a report that came out. Lady Buckingham says, I think it should have been out there, would have shown the severity of the disease. I think it was wrong to keep it quiet. And there is no easy answer. I mean, I'm certainly not going to sit here and berate anyone for doing something or not doing something. We are all on a learning curve. I mean, like I said, some people had very flippant opinions and views about COVID back in the early days. I think a lot of us have changed our mind. I mean, some of us will have been completely frightened and horrified and shocked right from the outset. But, you know, it's probably taken a lot of people a bit of a slow burner to kind of get the severity of it. Some people probably still don't get the severity of what's going on in the world. But what we do know is from Prince William's actions, you know, from April onwards, it was working, video calls, supporting the National Health Service, standing outside with his family, clapping support for the National Health Service, which, you know, if you look at the face of it, it's just standing out there outside your door clapping, but it serves a much wider purpose in stirring up morale for the nation to get us through a really, really long and tough period. Round about that time, we also were having the Queen's address to the nation to kind of rally support. So if William didn't say anything because there was lots going on, I can quite understand why he wouldn't want to. But then again, at the same time, I also like a good dollop of reality. So, you know, is there a right and a wrong? I think people are going to have different opinions on this all the time. Christine says, was it leaked by someone at the palace? I don't think so, because it seems like they were trying to keep it quite quiet. But then again, we don't know. I think the Sun was saying that he'd mentioned it at an in-person engagement to somebody, and then somebody had told them. Oh, by the way, welcome to another Lost Angel who has joined the Royal Reviewer household and become a channel member. So hello and welcome. By the way, we have 150 people watching, so please give a big old thumbs up. If you are watching on catch up when the live is over, do leave a comment below about what you think about everything. That's it, I'm just reading. Right, Helene says, and then if they have a, oh, talking about hemorrhoids, really? Girl. Is it our business? He dealt with it properly and he continues his work. I agree. If it's like a minor ailment, like, you know, cataracts or, as you put it, hemorrhoids, you know, it's their business. It's a personal, private thing. But when we are dealing with a national crisis, a global pandemic, where people may need to feel like, you know, the elite are suffering and going through the same kind of hardships as what the rest of us are, you know, you can kind of look at it a little bit differently. We're not dealing with hemorrhoids, we're not dealing with cataracts, we're not dealing with a common cold, we're not dealing with, you know, an ingrown toenail. It's COVID. You know, Prince William, you know, an heir to the throne further down the line, past Charles, could potentially have lost his life. I mean, the reports are saying that he had trouble breathing and apparently he had quite severe symptoms. If that is to believe, if that is to be believed, then that is in, I think a lot of people would think, the national interest for people to know about, above and beyond, you know, an ingrown toenail whatever it might be. Right, I'm going to carry on reading some comments. H. London says, I understand, but this was not a health issue of the Queen, but I hear you. Where is the line between personal privacy and the public's right to know? Well, I think I've just spoken about that. I think when it becomes, you know, a national issue, such as COVID, where, you know, great swathes of the population are coming down with a new global illness, and, you know, thousands and thousands of people are losing their lives. And also going back to April, at a time when perhaps people were still not getting the message, it could have served as another frontier to kind of help combat and raise awareness of what was going on. Do you get what I'm saying? Anyway, Charlotte says, in my opinion, although I am a citizen of the USA, it was Prince William's business to inform about his health. I mean, again, in the UK, when it comes to the royal family, as I explained at the top of this chat, the royal family are like the physical embodiment of the nation, and, you know, their health and their well-being is like, it's like the health and the well-being of your own country. So you kind of, as a citizen, you kind of want to know how they're doing. We don't need to know the ingrown toenails, the hemorrhoids, the varicose veins, or the rest of it. We don't need to know that. But if they've been hospitalised or that kind of thing, or if they've come down with something that's killing people globally, it kind of puts it in a different league, I think. Dawn says, it's not just any illness. I can see the cataracts, a simple cold, etc. This is something that should have been out. Okay for Prince Charles and Johnson to have the information out. Why not William? I mean, another thought that crossed my mind was, did Prince William even actually tell his own family that he had it? Did he want to worry them? Did he want to worry his father when his father was going through it at the time? Did he want to worry the Queen? Did he want to worry his own family? Part of the report that I've seen says that he was assessed by the royal physicians, and that he did all the isolation and everything that you were supposed to do in line with government guidelines as they were at the time. So if he was seen by royal physicians, there is still an element of confidentiality in between doctor and patient. So if William turned around and said, look, I don't want my family to know, I don't think they would have had to have notified the Queen, even though they are royal physicians. There is still patient-doctor confidentiality, which I still think exists for, you know, senior members of the royal family. So if William said, I don't want people to know, maybe the palace didn't even know. Maybe Charles didn't know. I mean, that's just another thought that I would like to put out there. You know, maybe William literally just didn't want to tell anybody about it. H. London says, yes, now the COVID numbers are awful and getting worse day by day. Yeah, we are in the UK, we are in our second wave right now. Sharon says, it shows whether or not Prince William would have long-term complications to have waited this long to have announced it. Long COVID, as it's being known in the UK, is really a thing. Lots of people are suffering from the effects of COVID long-term, you know, months and months and months and months down the line. Barbara says, good afternoon, a lot of news today. There is indeed. I'm going to scoot all the way down to the bottom of the comments. H. London says, you have done an excellent job of explaining how each of you are affected by the royal family. That family is at the core of what has been 1,000 years of history and culture. And that is why people were crying out for the Queen to address the nation. We'd already had the address to the nation by Boris Johnson, the elected Prime Minister, but the nation turned to the unelected head of state, which was the Queen. We really wanted the Queen the monarch, in the capacity as monarch, to address the nation and to comfort us and to guide us through it. The politicians was one thing, but we really wanted the monarch to do that. And I think a lot of people, not just in the UK, but actually around the world, found a lot of strength in the Queen's message. You know, people can have their presidents and their prime ministers and whoever it might be, but I think globally the Queen's message was well received, and I think a lot of people got something different from her message as opposed to a political voice as a head of state or a president or whatever it might be. And that's another reason, another, perk, I suppose, of having a monarchy, is that it's not connected to politics. You really get the heart of a nation being put out there. They are the embodiment of state, shall we say. Thank you, Sharona. I will go and visit my P.O. box very, very soon. Duke of Haas says, the Duke acted like a private person, but he is not. He's a public figure, and it has within the national interest for his subjects to know. I think I'm leaning more towards that it was in the public interest. I mean, we have found out now, and it turns out that there was nothing, he hasn't, there hasn't been any ill effects of it, but should we have known about it? I'm leaning more towards the position that we should have known because of what it was. It wasn't a hemorrhoid, it wasn't a varicose vein, it wasn't something trivial, it was COVID. So I think personally that probably is within the national interest to know. Terry Turner says, I don't think William would have kept his father in the dark. That we are not going to know. I mean, I want to put that out there because part of this doesn't make sense. If we've got Prince Charles, it being announced that Charles has it, if we've got, other public figures, why not William? I mean, that is something that kind of, is a little bit like what's going on here. Yes, Sharona, William did have COVID back in April and nobody knew about it. Mercury Angel says, what concerns me about this virus is the long-term effects that may not be known at this time. What happens when someone develops problems as they grow older or get a disease down the road? I'm not a physician, unfortunately, or a scientist. We don't know. We're going to have to live with the virus in our system for, well, forever, probably, and just learn to deal with it and cope, and we'll have to wait and see what the long-term effects of it are. Right, I'm going to kind of go up again and read a few comments. Mercury Angel says it was understandable because it was quite scary when we first heard about the virus. It was. It was indeed. Right, I'm going to move on. You can still keep your comments coming in about... Well, actually, let me just... I did have a link open, actually, and I wanted to just see if there was anything else in it that I've missed. So do excuse me if I just do a little bit of quick reading, because I don't think... Oh, yeah, obviously, he isolated in Norfolk at Anmer Hall. And as I noticed before, he didn't require hospital treatment, but he was seen by palace doctors, and apparently his symptoms were fairly severe. And he may have had difficulty breathing. But there we go. Other than that, I don't think there is anything particular to note about it. And I'm just trying to go through the original article, and I don't think there was anything other than that. I mean, obviously, he did just a few stats. He did 14 telephone and video engagements during the month of April. So he was still very, very much working throughout being ill, even though he was isolating and doing all the social distancing and everything like that. By the way, about an hour ago, Chris Ship from ITV did make a bit of a tweet, a bit of a coded tweet, and I don't know, I can't make anything of it, maybe you can, but he says, a royal visit I can't tell you about, involving an unidentifiable member of the royal family to a location I can't reveal, has been postponed later in the week due to the impending lockdown. We go into lockdown on Thursday. Don't you feel better for knowing that, he says. Well, I mean, you're talking in riddles, Mr. Ship. I mean, who is it? What engagement was it? I mean, I really don't know. I mean, some people in the comments were guessing Prince Andrew, but no. Chris Ship does say he's no longer a working member of the royal family, so I can at least confirm it wasn't him. So, yeah, I mean, guesses. I'd like some guesses, please, as to who and what the unidentifiable engagement was, because I literally have no clue. Because of lockdown, obviously, Remembrance Day, Remembrance Sunday is going to be very, very different. Well, I had some thoughts on it. Even though, we're not going to have the kind of mass gatherings, we weren't going to have that anyway. The Queen was due to attend it. Perhaps the Queen could still attend in just by herself. I mean, she could literally turn up on the balcony. They could have a few people walking by. Maybe Charles on the ground could lay a wreath on behalf of, the Queen, the royal family, the nation. So I'm thinking that something will go ahead, but it won't even go ahead as it was going to be planned. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, how long we're going to stay in lockdown for, past December the 2nd, is anybody's guess, is anyone's question. Right, I'm going to go and just see if people are guessing about this unidentifiable engagement. Lady Buckingham thinks that it is the Queen to the cenotaph. Maybe it could have been that. It could have been that, but I don't understand why they wouldn't just why would he not be allowed to say that? I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, I'm already talking about it. Why? And also, it doesn't really fit with a royal visit. He says a royal visit. And really, Remembrance Day isn't a royal visit. It's an engagement, but it's not really a visit. And it involves more than one member of the family. So, who is it? What is it? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see if anything comes to light on that one. Right, so, moving on. The Queen and Philip have been reunited again. So this is another kind of sweet story. As we know, the Queen and Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, spent the first lockdown in Windsor together. Philip was helicoptered in from Sandringham at Wood Farm. They spent all of lockdown in Windsor Castle. Then they moved to Balmoral for the traditional summer holidays. Then they went back to Sandringham, to Wood Farm, to spend a few weeks together. And then the Queen moved back to Windsor to carry on engagements. But it seems like, again, just like the first lockdown, Philip has been brought in to be reunited with the Queen ahead of this second lockdown. So again, they will have another prolonged period of time together, which I think is going to be really, really lovely for them to have this time together. And of course they have the whole of the Windsor estate, they have the great park to exercise in, the Queen still has her horses, they will still have the bubble going on, the Queen's protective bubble that kind of works in shifts. She's got two bubbles that kind of coincide on, I think it's 2-week shifts. So the Queen is definitely protected, and they have been reunited. In terms of Christmas, it's expected that they will travel to Sandringham for the traditional royal Christmas. Lots of talk about, will we get the royal Christmas Day church walkabout? Now, officially it hasn't been cancelled, and depending upon in terms of the rules of lockdown, in terms of, has there been a bubble that's isolated for 2 weeks, I'm still hopeful that we will get to see the royal family on Christmas Day, or at least key members who may have to isolate, perhaps, beforehand, so that they can be together at church, or even if they keep socially distanced. I don't know how it's going to work, but I'm thinking that we are still going to get the traditional Christmas Day service. I am hopeful for that. I think it will provide a little bit of a boost to the nation. I'm also casting my mind very, very much forward to what the Queen's Christmas message will be this year. Obviously, it's going to be, I think, about resilience. I think it's going to, this is my prediction, I think it's going to be about resilience in the face of adversity, which is what I am this is the time of year as well that I start to think about my own Christmas Day address. I'm writing another one for this year, and that's going to be my theme. My theme is going to be facing adversity, facing adversity and coming through. And I think the Queen's message will be in a similar vein. She's got a lot of material to draw on, as do I. So yeah, I'm about to write mine, and I'm sure the Queen is thinking ahead to her own Christmas Day message. Christmas is going to be very, very, very different about this year than what it has been in previous years. Tim, yes, Tim was saying about Trooping the Colour 2021. Who knows? I mean, we do not know if we are going to be rid of this terrible virus by then. Who knows? But it's looking bleak. I mean, here in the UK, we are already thinking about not having exams, you know, in big sports halls where the children sit their exams. We're already thinking about cancelling those. So to have a big event where everyone is packed together, I don't think it's going to go ahead. I'm hopeful for all the things that we've missed this year, like Chelsea Flower Show, Trooping the Colour, all these different events. You know, we're probably not going to get the Queen's Christmas lunch for her family and all that kind of thing. So I'm hoping things will come back next year. We'll have to wait and see. Oh yes, The Crown. The Crown is coming out soon. And unless you've been living under a rock, you will have seen the amazing portrayal of Princess Diana. I'm not going to say anything else other than I got chills. I got tingles up and down my spine. It was amazing. Emma, I think, was it Emma Corrin? She is playing Diana amazingly. I mean, I got tingles. I got chills. I got chills. So yeah, I'm really, really, really looking forward to that. Right, moving on. So lots of people are saying, what is the sad news? Well, the sad news is that the Queen's cousin, Lady Elizabeth Shackley, or Lady Elizabeth Anson, as many people may know her. Obviously, she is one of the Queen's cousins through the Queen Mother's side of the family, through the Bowes-Lyon side of the family. She passed away, and she was actually 79 years old. So she was born on the 7th of June 1941, and obviously she passed away on the 1st of November 2020, so yesterday. She actually organised a lot of the Queen's private functions. She was a bit of a party planner and a socialite, and obviously a member of the Anson family. She was actually a first cousin once removed of Queen Elizabeth, and she was the sister of Patrick Anson, the 5th Earl of Lichfield. And she was a really big friend, a big, you know, confidant of the Queen. She worked in a very personal capacity, organising the Queen's private parties. She was also a businesswoman. She set up her own kind of party planning business. And, you know, she was kind of wealthy in her own right, as well as through marriage. And, you know, sadly, she passed away. So we still have regulations and things in place regarding funerals, and I think they'd eased up a little bit, but I think they've gone back down to only having so many people at funerals and all that kind of thing. So I'm sure the Queen, whenever the funeral is, would like to attend. Whether or not she will be able to, I don't know, but I'm sure the Queen will be having a period of quiet reflection to mourn the loss of her cousin and friend as well. I think also, you know, sometimes we kind of underestimate, you know, the Queen's cousins in the fact that they are also very, very much friends of the Queen as well. They're not just cousins. You know, the Queen has quite a small circle of people that she's kind of intimate with in that way. You know, it's not easy to have friends when you're the Queen. So family make up, you know, quite a lot of the bulk of the Queen's friendship group, as well as obviously her ladies and ladies that she's known for a long time. So it will be a very, very sad occasion for the Queen that she's going through right now. Right, I'm just going to read up a little tiny bit to see if I've missed anything. Going up. Lady Burntgum's had to go. I will see you soon. Leanne says, so sad, I remember seeing her in interviews reminiscing on many royal family historical shows. Yes, and, you know, it will be, don't underestimate it, her loss will be a great loss and a great sadness for the Queen. I mean, of course, the Queen, you know, getting to the age that the Queen's at, you get used, you know, unfortunately, you get used to losing people. And, you know, this will be no exception, but it will still be very, very sad for the Queen. Yes, William got COVID not long after Prince Charles got COVID. That is correct. But we've only just found out about it. And the palace has confirmed it. So, I am going to... How are we doing for time? We're fine. So, I think we've packed quite a lot into 35 minutes of a live chat. So, I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to go off and have a well-deserved cup of tea, I think. Oh, Debbie. Good point. You reminded me. Debbie says, do you think the Queen will stand down on her 95th birthday? Well, I've spoke about this a lot. This rumour has been circulating for a long, long time, and it resurfaces almost every 6 months, it seems. My own personal opinion is that I don't think the Queen will be stepping down on her 95th birthday. Already we have had this kind of slow but steady handover of duties to Prince Charles, and I think we will see a continuation of that. Even if the Queen reduces her role greatly, significantly, when she gets to 95, we are not going to see an abdication. We are not going to see a standing down. I really, 100%, I would stake everything I've got on it. That the Queen is of that mould where she will be the Queen until she breathes her last breath. I think that is in her. Just because other monarchies in Europe have stepped down, monarchs have stepped down and passed the crown on to younger generations, I don't think we are going to be seeing that with the Queen. I can see a continual handing over of roles and powers. I can potentially see a regency at some point, but the Queen is not going to abdicate. I definitely don't think we're going to see an abdication, but perhaps maybe a regency. But again, there would have to be a change to the Regency Act. There is no provision in the Regency Act for old age. Old age would have to be written into the Regency Act. It could be amended that when the monarch reaches a great age, and again, I wouldn't like to see any specifics on what that age should be. But if the monarch feels like they have reached a great age and the Regency Council agrees with the monarch, then it could be passed. The issue could be passed to Parliament to agree that that a regent could be appointed. Usually the heir, the Prince of Wales. So I could see perhaps maybe the Regency Act being amended, but nothing has been amended yet. There is no provision in law at the moment. There is no provision under the Regency Act for old age. If the Queen becomes not sound of body, not sound of mind, or if she is absent from state and she cannot fulfil those duties, there is provision. But the Queen is fit, she's healthy, she has a mind, she's here, she's present, she's not away in battle. There is no provision under the Regency Act for Prince Charles to be a regent yet, unless that is amended. So there we go. And yes, her mother lived to 101, so I think she will stick it to the end, the very bitter end. Right, okay, I'm going to go now. So, if you've enjoyed today's video, then please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share on social media, and also do hit the bell so that you know whenever I pop up and do one of these live chats. So, from me in Shropshire, mwah to you all, and goodbye.